Hi all, welcome to another kingscrusher banter show at Chess24. I just dashed off to get coffee just before the show. I just realised to my horror I didn't have a coffee here. Okay, let's see the challenges list. Mute over there. Oh, let's mute over here. McTell. Hi all. Welcome to another kingscrusher banter show at Chess24. How can we mute over here? Whoops. I just dashed off to get... Let's mute over there. Okay. So Akara Khan playing knight d2, I think. That blocks in the bishop. That might be an issue. Yeah, I could take actually to try and get a grip on the e5 square. I can imagine they're taking a knight d7 to f6. If I want a small edge, I think the key might be, well, to stop b5 as well. The key might be the e5 square. Keeping a grip on e5. A small grip on e5. In fact, what about a Greek gift? Bishop h7, knight g5 is possible. I mean, it seems possible, plausible. Queen h5 coming up. Without that defensive knight on f6, h7 is often more sensitive. The soft spots are often more sensitive than usual. Oh, this is just giving the h file. If f6, g6. If rook e8, queen h8. But f6, g6 is a common way of sealing the exit square. It's a very, very common idea in conjunction with the Greek gift, just to seal the exit square off. So queen h8 check is a lot more dangerous now, without king f7. Alright, good for confidence build to try and win the first game. Sometimes I haven't. I think this is pretty dangerous. There's not too many defensive resources available. Thanks, McTell. Okay. Okay, let's see. Sebi, 1996. It's my haircut. I've terrorized everyone, I hope. I've had a short haircut just a couple of days back. Yeah, grade 1. It's the summer. It's the summer. You can hear the birds tweeting. I've also got the window open a bit. You might be able to hear the faint tweeting of birds in the background. That's the background music today. I wonder if I can play b5, bishop b7. Oh, there might be knight b5. This is the problem. That's really serious actually, because then, you know, d6, it's a lot of pawns. So, okay, I'll castle into it. Oh, I'm a bit concerned I'm going to get hacked to death after this. But anyway, he's put me off that b5 when my king was in the centre. Because the possibility of knight b5 and knight d6. I've seen that in a Bronstein game. He picked up a load of pawns. Might be able to play d5 here. The sort of standard recipe is often to try and counter in the centre. Here it actually protects b4 as well. I'm wondering g5 though, and then ed, g5, maybe knight h5, ed. It does isolate my pawn. It's possible that I should have played bishop b7. On the other hand, there's an upside to the bishop here. You know, maybe later f5 can be used, or e6 or d7. I haven't committed the bishop there. So that's interesting, this central reaction to the flank attack. It's a classic recipe in theory, but here, what is actually going on with g5 Yeah, I'm wondering knight h5 might be a good to slow down white's attack a little bit with h5. I know it's a misplaced knight, but the possibility of getting this bishop on this diagonal is interesting. Okay, so the bishop has activated on that diagonal. It's scary for me, actually. More scary for me at the moment. This pawn is weak. I don't know about the prospect of losing a pawn here. I'm going to play knight g3. There's knight d5. I better take that off. I don't think there's any knight b5 here. Can I do this? It's an isolated pawn, but the bishop, as I mentioned, is happy on this diagonal for a moment. Let's imagine a pawn sack. Knight c6. He takes queen d5 after. Maybe queen d5, bishop e7, rook d3. There's also bishop e6 though on a2. So maybe that has legs. Knight c6 takes queen d5, bishop e6. The bishop's trapped after with b3 surely. a5, b3, a4, and the bishop's getting out in time. Anyway, it's moot now. He's blocked the d pawn. I think I'll just play knight c6. I can feel the danger a bit. Bishop g4, rook g1. There's d4 there on the h1 rook. I don't know if that's handy or not. Even just to h5, it plays. If I play to h5 after, that might be more useful just to try and block things up over here. It's a little bit on the scary side, this position. One bonus point is the rook could be loose in some variations. Not here. I wonder if bishop g6, h5, bishop e4. Yeah, I'll go for this because I'm on c2 here. Okay. Let him double, or should I play bishop e4? That's a bit controversial. I thought if I could take here on f4, but I don't know about that. His pawn's slightly menacing. I'm on c2, I'm on h1 here. I wonder a5, a4, b3. How slow is this? Am I going to get mated? Can I actually do something with c2? Rook e8, rook e3, d3. If he played to d3, yeah, that might be. I'm on h1, so that ties down this rook a bit. I'm wondering rook e8. Okay, let's see. It's getting time critical for both sides here. This sort of g6, h5 can be scary. Rook e3 for d3 seems an idea. So he can't take that because the queen takes c2 mate. I'm wondering if I get my attack in first. d3 or not. Probably I should play this to disrupt these pawns. g6, h5. Any little tricks here? Is it a5, a4, b3 at some point? There's queen e6 for rook e2 and rook cc2. Maybe that's okay as an idea. Oh, that's interesting. a5, a4, a3 takes queen c3, rook d3. That looks interesting as well. Okay, maybe this one. whose attack is faster? Can I prove it that my attack could be faster? There's rook c2 coming up. Maybe the back row. I'll go for the back row, rook c2. The back row's been a bit neglected. It's scary. Can I play queen f6 and live to tell the tale? If I take her, you can double the rooks. Probably I should take. I can always take and rook e1 after. I'm wondering about b3. Could have always taken that pawn after it. I think it's better to have a form pawn here on a3 rather than lose the b3 pawn. So I'm prepared for this, losing the queen for 2 rooks, because I think I have the rook e1 and I've got the asset on a3, that form pawn. He has a load of checks. It might be a draw by perpetual check or something if I can't escape the checks. But otherwise, if I can combine rooks, I can take 1 rook off here. And also queen b2 looks fatal for white. Yeah, it's a very fun game. Going for it. Thank you. Very fun game. Phenomenon. You just sometimes have to just try and prove your attacks quicker. So I was lucky on that occasion to prove the attack was slightly quicker. Another Sicilian Najdorf. I seem to think there was this USSR tournament. They were forced to play the Sicilian defense in every game to show their fighting spirit. It was like fantastic. All these Sicilian defenses. Each game a lot of fun compared to, say, a modern World Chess Championship full of Berlins. Okay. This b5, I'm interested in it because it seems a thematic sort of thing you would do generally, trying to undermine and weaken the opponent's pawn chain. This one takes time for f5 and that weakens the diagonal. So that ticks a few boxes. It's not weakening the king to undermine this pawn. Now taking would seem, I don't know if I need some preparation for taking. Doesn't seem to do too much. Closing doesn't seem to do much at all. I probably should take and see how this goes. I am kind of wary about releasing that tension as well, though. There might be some tactics emerging, like rook b2, sometimes for knight e4, maybe even here. That kind of seems lucrative. Rook b2, knight e4 with the king. It's still in the center. This is curious that the king's still in the center. Otherwise these wouldn't work. Yeah, I think rook b2 for knight e4. Now coming to think about it. Yeah, this diagonal with the king in the center. It looks kind of a logical thing to consider this with the king in the center. Yeah, that uses that little bit of activity juice that I had from BC earlier. Have I nicked a pawn overall then? I've nicked a pawn. The dark square grip is quite good here compared to before. White having no dark square bishop. So d4 is my oyster, I think. Bishop g7, knight d4. If he doesn't castle, queen a5 check. Maybe even here just to get the queens off. Leaves a3 hanging. Might be the logical thing to do. To play queen a5. So a3 hanging. On a4 there's bishop d7, bishop d1, there's rook b8. I have good piece play there. a4 seems a miserable pawn in this position, away from the rest of the pawns. It's the one to kind of hit, I think. Rook a1, bishop b4 doesn't seem such a tactical issue with these loose pieces. They're only loose for a moment. I wonder if I can get away with, say, bishop d7. Is there? I can't see any major tactic for white. If I can just play rook b8, then this looks good. Put the pressure on with bishop c6. There's also knight b3. On knight b3 there's rook a6. I think bishop c6 seems okay. In fact, there might be something like, well, here f5 seems to win a piece. c3 is loose. The knights are just holding each other, but what's holding them up? As Lewis Lane said to Superman, what's holding you up? Okay, so the one with the helicopter scene. Okay, so the knight moves back, bishop takes c3. Okay. I'll go back to d4. Alright, thanks for the game, Fenneman. Azul missed. Now, he beat me last week, so he's portrayed himself as a Snell, but I seem to remember it was a French defence. I'm going to vary with the Sicilian defence. Adaptation to opponents is a key skill in itself, especially for online chess or even over the board where you're playing the same opponent over and over again. You want to use the previous games to probe their strengths and weaknesses. So I believe he's very, very fast later on, and he loves having tons of checks from last week's game. King safety then. I should probably adapt from last week, king safety wise. Although this is, yeah, this isn't the best king safety system. Okay. I've had this pattern just recently where someone's played e5, but it leaves fundamentally an e5 weak pawn. There is knight b5 here. I've left knight b5 in the position. Okay, he's not taking me up on that. I'll win e4 here, I think. This is a classic recipe. And this is going to do knight d5. I think I might just ignore the piece sack on knight d5. Somehow. Might be tricky. He could be tempted for this, for sure. It's an interesting position with knight f5 coming up. I wonder if I should delay my commentary on this. Am I giving ideas? Am I giving ideas? Oh dear. I think he's thinking about it. One thing is the c2 is hanging. I'm wondering if I can just take and then queen c2. He will take and he's on my rook. Alright, let's go into this. Takes knight f5. What happens? What happens indeed? It's murky. Actually, is it? Why can't I just play d takes e4? Doesn't that seal everything up? I'm overestimating my opponent here. I think I seal everything up. I'm going to go for it then. He was thinking about it for a while then. Can I not just castle here? Knight f5, rook e8, queen g3, g6. Well, that's interesting. This queen g3, how dangerous is it? Well, there's bishop d4. I'm not sure bishop d4. Can I play for bishop d5? And if I go here, at least I'm protecting f7. This d5 looks to be dropping. That's interesting. If knight f5 I might take. If knight g4 I might take here. The problem is bishop d4 maybe is a problem. Yes. Should I play bishop d8 for a moment? How scary is that with knight g4? That's queen c4, there's queen c2. I don't think they're doing much. f5's coming up probably. Let me just play to get this e-file rook in the game. Probably also this defensive f7 could be handy. If I move the knight, I'm defending f7 again there. Can I play... Knight c5. How is that helping? Can I play knight e4 after? No. What about knight b6, trying to win d5 like that? Anything falling apart? Probably can take, and then knight f7. No, my knight's holding the rook. I think knight b6 might be playable. It seems to be doing more than knight c5 at first glance. Because knight c5, I don't know what it's doing after knight c5. That's a tricky decision point. Knight b6 versus knight c5. Do I have knight d5? That would help f6 again. It will take out a centre pawn, which in principle is handy to take out a centre pawn. So overall, I think at the moment I'm happy with knight b6 compared to knight c5. Concerned about this f7. The queen is protecting f7. Okay. I can always take with the knight to avoid dropping f7. There's knight g7 on the diagonal if needed. Can I play knight f6 here? Or there's queen d4 as well. That might be interesting. Let's see. What's the threat? Knight f7 now, maybe. Okay. Is knight g7 any good? If f6, I can take both ways. I'm holding e8 and e7, looking out for knight f7s, looking out for f6, fg. I think I've got fg. Oh, d6 is hanging. I just realised. Oh, God. d6 was hanging. Muppets. Okay. That could have been painful. There's queen h4 here, pinning the queen to the rook. Can I get the queens off? I had an over the board game recently where I was just getting the queens off. Alright, thanks to the game Zoomist. And congrats on last week as well. Again, I've been waking up in the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, thinking about the game from last week. How I could have... I'm just kidding. No, I haven't. Honest. No, I've had a lot of chess over the last week. I've had a lot. There's no time to be too upset over online when over the board takes hours. I had an over the board game I had to defend like crazy, and it ended up with me having to finally got the queens off. I haven't showed that on the channel yet, on my channel, but uncomfortable position for me. I don't like this particularly. Could I play g3 and bishop g2 just to extinguish this dark square pressure without crumbling my king too much? I just wanted to take away the f4 square, basically. That was my main goal. Bit of prophylaxis going on. I don't know if... Is it worth playing a3? It seems meek. On b4 there's c4. So at least I'm trying to connect my rooks anyway. Queen c2, there's bishop f5. Knight h4, it doesn't matter if I provoke g5. This might be worth doing. For queen c2... without bishop f5. Queen c2 might afford bishop e4. Bishop e4 might afford bishop f5, which might get rid of this bishop, which might make f5 a more exploitable weakness if I can swap off these bishops. On the other hand, I thought he had bishop h3 actually anytime I move the bishop. But he's released that bishop h3 resource, which means I might be able to play bishop e4 to f5. But on the other hand, why do I want to weaken my king? Why not just knight f5 straight off the bat here? Okay, so what's happening here? If he takes here, I think he has got some light square weaknesses. Maybe not too much is happening. I'll take the file with queen e4. Is there queen g4? There's g6, not really doing anything. b3 is not that convincing. Any c4, he's always got the b4 square. I can't really dislodge this very happy knight that easily without compromising dark squares. Bishop's hanging. He hasn't... One key question to ask is, what is the opponent threatening? Sometimes I get it wrong that the opponent's threat is not significant, but often it is. And sometimes I'm playing a lot of Blitz games where I miss something, because my first question is really, what is the opponent threatening? It can be a mistake to ask that first. I think more often than not, it's a good question first. Okay, check, king g7. I can take here and bishop f4, or I can ignore this threat, in fact, and just do my own threat, bishop h6. Yeah, it seems bishop h6 is simple and strong. I don't see too much defense. I'm going to give a secret tip here. When you're going over master games, you might, some of the more serious, you might get Chessbase or some other software, but often in software, even if you're going over the most advanced master games, at every turn, it's very, very useful. There's an X called show threat. It's very, very useful when you go over a master game. In detail, look at show threat all the time, because sometimes it's not a grand plan. They're parrying an immediate, quite subtle tactical threat. That's the first layer of understanding, like when you go over games, master games. But when you're playing, that question, what is the opponent threatening, for me is a key question. Especially in Blitz, it's keeping track of threats and forcing moves which can change very, very quickly in one move. a forcing move which didn't work in one position can immediately almost work in another. That's why even the most outrageous forcing moves, if you're checking them out, then you're more alert to that really rapid change that can occur in a blitz game as well. But what is the opponent threatening? It's something not just for playing, it's for studying, like master games, and there's often a shortcut for it. So on chess page it's like the X button. So you're going over a game, check out the threat on each move. It basically does a null move, like the opponent hasn't moved. What would they do if they had another move? It's like a null move. That's tool for blitz and for looking at master games, actually. Essential, I think. Both essential. It's different context, but essential. So Johan Wilnis. Johan Wilman Mobis. We might have to abort this. Okay. Another time. Moby. I'll play King's Gambit because people don't usually expect the King's Gambit. it's a tool from the 19th century chess romantic era. But here, actually, you know, Bishop b5 is some positional pressure on e5. I could have also gone for Bishop c4. I think this line is interesting. That looks a little bit suspect. Also, the King's Gambit games caffeinate my brain, I noticed. If I have an early King's Gambit game in the morning, the other Blitz games are more alert. There's certain games that actually act as caffeine for me. I don't know if that's the same for other maybe attacking style players. There's a stimulus, literally a mental stimulus from I get from playing dynamic, aggressive openings. Like the King's Gambit, even if they're not sound, they're like a mental stimulus. But here, okay, we're not really in. I've just dropped c2, haven't I? Yeah. Oops. Okay, he hasn't gone for that rook, curiously. I think that rook was there for the munching. I mean, what was I going to do? Take this one? Big deal. Now let's give me a little bit of a focal point on f6. I wonder actually about this position. If bishop e7, maybe I ignore f6 and just play f5. Just trying to weaken the light squares because black has not got a light square bishop. So I've got a nice knight on d5. There's a check here as well to throw in. Maybe d3. And then bishop g5 and then f6 is something to think about. Queen e8, yeah, looks like plausible. Still, I think this idea of bishop g5 is an invisible threat in the position. Or not, you know, not so invisible. But I think it's my logical one because it also positionally, even if you're a great tactician, if you look at what's happening to the pieces in terms of their activity, here the tactic might not work, but I'm liberating the rook. In any case, it might not work, but it looks very, very promising to me to play f6. Just from the rook perspective, anyway, just from activating the rook, even if it doesn't get the piece back. F6 seems really dangerous and positional at the same time. So 2 ticks for that, 2 tick boxes. Positional and tactically, it doesn't seem that bad to play f6. If I can smash through the f file, then that's going to be really dangerous. Yeah. Well, I can take time out for knight f6 or bishop f6. I'm wondering bishop f6. I can always play queen h6 and queen f6 for speed. So I'm going with this. Queen h6. I'm not going to use the knight. It's too slow, I think. I need something quick. Things are happening over here. Sometimes you need to run with checks. Time critical situation a bit. If I take queen g4, I might be able to take time out just taking this d3 actually. Or I can just take it and then f6 first. Yeah, I think introducing the f pawn here. I've got this in reserve. There's always knight e2 supporting that thing. Let's see how my threats pan out here. The knight controls e6 though. Might not be easy with the knight controlling e6. The check, there's f7 though. That seems... Check. f7. Queen g7, there's rook f8. Might be worth taking some time out here just to simply take here. This is distraction. f7 threatens the immediate mate though. Hold on a sec. f7 is pretty quick because it threatens a mate. There's knight e2, king h1, knight f4. Maybe I'll just take that. It's all pretty tempting. Check. Check. I don't know. Wonder if I should just simply... I'll be a chicken. I'm going to consider my opponent's position here as mildly useful for knight e2. And given I can't calculate that fully, why not take out this knight e2 from the equation, revisit the position there. Maybe even actually queen... Well, I can either go back to h3 or I can play queen e3. The pawn's got an advantage on f6 rather than commit to f7. That sometimes the king would escape. Alright, go back here. Knight f4, I might even sack the exchange because the knight on d5, I love knights on d5. Just in principle. But in practice, it's not just pretty, it's deadly, I think. Usually, they're not just pretty, they're deadly. You just got to investigate why they're deadly as well. Knight f4, rook f4, check. Queen g7 hits the rook and threatens mate, end of game. So knight f4, rook takes, check, queen g7. Here, check is very dangerous for f7, winning the queen. King is blocked by its own queen here. Otherwise there's f8 queening, winning material. Right, the knight holds g7, aha. Not over yet, apparently. Let's get this position again. I'll try with f7 then. Although there's knight g7. I think it's far too dangerous for black, this position. On knight g7, what happens on the pieces are not doing anything on queen h6. The knight's pinned, the rook's hemmed in. The rook pawn here is paralyzed. Queen h6 looks good, but hold on. There would be queen e6. Okay, I'm going to double and take it easy with rook f6, rook h6 now. Pinning. Okay, I'll take some time out here with king h2. Okay. It seems a bit chicken to not allow knight e4. It does seem a bit chicken. as though my threat should be more important, but he's not going anywhere that quickly if I take time with this. Is he? Maybe he's taking the pawn. I think I'd take queen h6. It's too dangerous. Queen h8 is winning the rook. It looks like murder with the knight on d5. I could take on d6 here, but there's knight f6. Now here there's queen h6. Right here, well, knight d7, double check. Can I find a nice finish in time? Or not really? This looks really dangerous for queen h8. Can I win the rook? Okay, I'm pushing my time constraints. Got to balance your time constraints and looking for resources. It's, I don't know, it's a balance, delicate balance. You don't want to go over the board and lose on time. Thanks, challenging game. Okay, now this opponent has, I think, I have a good percentage compared to other systems in the King's Engine, in particular the Shirov system, so I want to head for that. It's a 3-minute game as well, but he might vary from his normal King's Engine. I hope he's around. All right. I was looking forward to that. Very, very dangerous player. I think he still has a plus score against me. By the way, here is a recent over-the-board score sheet. You can see my handwriting. Yeah, I should... One of my friends, Paul Georgiou, who's been over 200 ECF, he's immaculate when he's writing. There's no stress. I seem to be suffering. I've always had this spider writing. Bit of trivia. I think it might help to... Coming to think about this, might help to try and calm down the writing. Okay, anyway. Alright, let's abort this game. I'm not sure he's here. Armando. I'll kick off with e5, so it's kind of reverse Sicilian, this position. But now fianchetto. I was looking at a game of Howard Staunton just yesterday, which I want to go over soon. He used the double fianchetto system. I think he was a bit of a chicken to play Paul Morphy. He didn't play Paul Morphy, but we used the Staunton style piece design even today. A lot of his ideas, it seemed, both on the board and around chess generally, seemed totally ahead of his time. You would not believe this double fianchetto game. It just looks like a modern game. So Howard Staunton, not to be confused with Steinitz, he was one of the great players of his time, but seemed a bit of, he didn't really want to play Paul Morphy. So I've been looking at that recently. But yeah, he had a double fianchetto system, and even with the knight here, which means you can use your f pawn later. It's like he was aware of modern kind of fianchetto stuff. Long before the fianchetto was actually, this was like 1850. Long before the fianchettos were that popular. incredible, though. It's like a time warp stylistically. You can't characterize all of 19th century chess as King's Gambits, basically. There did seem to be some very, very interesting players to check out, which I'm checking out at the moment, so happens. Okay, so they all played the King's... I mean, usually they played the King's Gambit. I mean, but there's also other Gambits, like... the Evans Gambit with b4 was on the rage. That was one of Paul Morphy's favourite, the Evans Gambit. The construction of the centre, you know, with c3, d4 very rapidly was a very, very common thing, not just with white, but with black. You see these weird b5s trying to get a tempo with c6 and d5 later. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time if you look over the games. I can't help but think they knew how to have fun back then with their chess. It's like they really didn't care about, probably wasn't huge prize funds, they were just having great fun with the chess. We seem to have clinicalized our game nowadays. Most of the GM games are, I don't know if it's heresy for me to say, a bit sometimes dull, but there are some interesting players around, like new ones, of course. Waity, what's that other one? That other junior, he plays amazing attacking chess. He beat Magnus Carlsen not so long back in a tournament he was otherwise doing not too well. But I think that's the nature of the beast. If you're a really dynamic, aggressive player, you're going to lose a lot of games more than these more stable players with stable ideas and stable playing styles, stable openings. Who's that one I'm thinking of? That really dynamic, aggressive. Do you know the one? He's around Waity's age. They played a junior match against each other. We beat Magnus Carlsen recently. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Anyway, no. Okay. G4 for F3 looks really good. Because I'm controlling that H4 here. I like this squish mechanism. Where I have a knight here. I think I noticed this squish mechanism from a book, like all these steps to become a master player. There was this Karpov game, might have been Karpov Miles. Karpov uses a fianchetto. He plays knight e2 to g3, and it's a squish. It's like a classic squish without any counterplay. So Karpov can play these like aggressive positional games where he's squishing the opponent, getting great king safety aspects, but not giving any counterplay. And it's very, very impressive. Controlled aggression. Now here, even positionally, the bishop's kind of hemmed in anyway. Also, there's knight f4, h3 is mate. That would be mate because the king's actually ridiculously hemmed in by its own pieces. So knight f4 is pretty dangerous. But even from a positional point of view, I think he'll be getting grip on dark squares. But on the other hand, he could take here. Do I want to do that? That's something tricky to balance. Maybe the knight should... this knight's good though. Let's get rid of this knight on d5. Maybe I can play rook f4. Just keep this bishop hemmed in and be happy with that. Because actually, if I avoid the bishops, my king's a bit safer. There's still a bit of a lockdown on d4. And queen g5 here in particular is enough for an advantage. Surely I don't need to actually exchange off these bishops or worry about this bishop being blocked in. Because sometimes a blocked in bishop adds solidity to the position anyway. I think it's too simplistic to say about blocked in bishops sometimes. The exchange attack is very, very, very tempting. You see, if I have bishop e5 after, but then there's always d4, and there would be like this h2 issue, but then I have to have g3, and maybe it's not so clear. So still, actually I can just go for queen h4. Anyway, why not just move this, keep the bind on d4, and play queen h4. And that h5 looks to be dropping off. That should be enough. I don't think I need to play anything risky, really, because this bishop is like being a piece down in this position. Why does black need to play anything that risky? If I can just take on h5, that's another gain. take on h5. The mechanism of rook f4 is interesting to observe. It opens up the bishop, but it means the d pawn can come to d4. I'm not sure about the bishop e5 all the time. Is there another way of playing this? It doesn't matter now, though. The opponent's so low on time. I think just taking here and queen h3, and then, I don't know. I don't think it matters at the moment now. From a practical point of view, it's stopped mattering. It's like playing a bishop down. Okay, thanks for the game, Armando. Right, Bluesy. I'll try a solid system just in case I don't want to go into some tactical. I mean, I don't know too much about. I'm going to be boring with the London system here. There's a nice avatar there. I think there's a nice outdoor chess set. Is it in the garden? In the avatar, I think he's playing on an outdoor chess set. Can I zoom in on this picture? No. Not too much is going on here at the moment. The London system, in many ways, it's like a French defence in reverse with a good bishop. You can think of it sometimes like that. Especially it gets more like a reverse French, advanced French, if you have c3 and then e5, e4 later. Because then you have things like c4 and stuff. It's like with the bishop outside the pawn chain instead of on c1, so it becomes like a kind of reverse French defence advanced variation if this plan of e5, e4 is played. And that really is like a massive bonus for the bishop to be here sometimes, because it's piercing this diagonal. So often I'm wondering if I should take that or not. This is a curious decision. If I don't, maybe f5. Worried about g2 pressure. He could line up the queen and bishop on g2 later. Can I just get rid of that bishop? Because there's weaknesses. If the bishop is lost, sometimes these weaknesses are amplified just ever so slightly with the exchange of the light square bishop, which makes this a viable plan sometimes to just get rid of the light square bishop. Because black has committed these pawns. You look at the adjacent squares, the light squares are slightly more vulnerable. Now here I'm wondering about c4. Mind you, there's bishop b4. That's annoying, could win a pawn. If I play calmly with a3 first, and maybe even preparation, rook c1, c4, I don't want to lose a pawn here at this key moment. I'll keep things solid. Do I welcome the exchange of bishops or not? I don't want to have my pawn structure compromised too much. If I double rooks here, mysterious rook moves, they're ready for e5, ed, if I have the e file automatically with the two rooks. Now he could play for minority attack, it's a bit long term, c4, b5. Right, the rooks are now ready for that e file. Yeah, the minority attack, a5, b4, it's the minority of pawns trying to cause structural damage. What can I do here? Any knight b3 does knight e4. That's the pain of it. So he's going to be structurally damaging me. What can I do? What can I do, indeed? Challenge that e5 square, I think. Now if the queen goes away, maybe rook e3 to g3. Now this position, I can establish a knight on d4. Knight, if I do that, then knight c5 to e4 later. If I just keep things like this, it's, in a way, it's not creating too many weaknesses. Yeah, the minority attack. Classic minority attack demo so far. You can double on this pawn, backward pawn now. I get a knight to e5, I think. There's c4 trying to dissolve the pawn. If you can dissolve your backward pawns, that's a pass pawn now. I've turned that backward pawn into a pass pawn. The problem with knight e5 is this d pawn might be slightly weak to rook a4. Can I get behind the pass pawn here? Tactically, what's going on? Can I play to get rid of a pair of rooks? That would amplify the pass pawn if I got rid of a pair of rooks here. But I think getting my king towards the centre might also be good. A little bit. Rook a2, rook b2. Get ready for rook b2. He's got e5 on the cards. I can't handle e5 that easily. Right now, at least I've stopped rook a2. Can I go to g8? This e5 is a concern. What does he do on rook g8? If king c6, rook b6 is mate. Not mating, but getting close. Aha. Okay. g4 here. Remember? Winning the rook. Okay, I tried to keep a controlled game there. I was a bit overly cautious, perhaps. Okay, thanks for the game, Lucy. Kaz. What has popularised and made me more aware of the London system is Magnus Carlsen using it a lot in long games and rapid. Given he's the world champion, he's influential. The world champions are influential, usually, I think, in whatever generation they are. So he has got a very positional style, trying to cut down counterplay, grind people to death in endgames. Yeah, e5 is very vulnerable. So I'll try and support e5 for a moment. It just simply seems to be dropping off. With rook e8, I think this rings a bell from last week, losing e5. I'm trying to pin something now to try and make winning e5 a little bit tactically dodgy. Oh, hang on. What is it? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I have relinquished that light square bishop. That could be dangerous later, that light square bishop. Queen b2, there might be knight c6. Knight e4 coming up. What about rook c1 here, trying to tie down to c6? Yeah. And bishop e3 would discourage a knight move. I think like knight f5 hitting the queen. Yeah, I think bishop e3 is interesting. I don't think it matters about him winning a pawn with his fianchetto bishop. The weakness is that result after that a bit suspect, I think. Let's see. I mean, I probably need to go back to e5 after. It just seems a little bit awkward, this knight and queen here. I'm immediately threatening maybe knight takes c6. So queen takes, I can take the knight. Knight takes c6 here. Holds down the queen to the bishop for a moment. Bishop d4, queen a2. What about a3 instead? I'll protect. I know the bishop's protecting already, but another protection of c5. If I take with the bishop, there might be b4 after. I think even if he pins and plays bishop f8, I'm looking forward to a passed pawn there with knight d4 potentially. Although, you know, queen d3, it's a vulnerable position. I'm going into a self pin. If I play b4 here, I've got that majority 2-1, and I'm going to take on a7 2-0. Yeah. I don't like the look of that pawn if I took, actually. Particularly. Although bishop d4 seems stable enough. On rook takes, bishop d4 again looks stable. Maybe I should take the queens off. If I get bishop c3 here, I'm blocking that pawn. My own pawn majority is disabled at the moment. However, knight d4, snap that off. That's not happening here. Oh, it is. Bishop e5, knight b3 is the pin. Oh, it's got bishop h2. Now it's protected by the bishop. Otherwise, rook takes e1. Bishop e5, knight takes. Bishop takes is not working. King takes. Takes. Let's see. Bishop a4, f4. If I have f4, then I have king f2, king e3. There's always f6, there's e6 to f6. Bishop h6 says g3. Can I afford the king getting in? King f2, king e3. It's not. Maybe it's not worth it. Try and close in this bishop. There's another idea. It's just occurred to me. G4, G5. Bishop's always got this diagonal to come out to. It's not a big deal. Undermining. If I took and then f5, that looks attractive. Now f6 is possible. The bishop is protecting the right, as previously noted. Okay. EF here, you can take and then take on f6. This closes in that bishop, that piece down. For the moment, the bishop can come on this diagonal. I can stop that for a moment with check. I'll try and round up b3 actually, with rook e3. I can play the check. If king c7, rook d7, if king c8, rook d7, bishop f8. Well, I think that position's too good for me with the rook on the 7th, to be honest. This is too good, surely, this position. For black to handle. Although, okay, it's too good. What does black do here? He can go for a check. Yeah, no, he can go for a check. Alright, thanks for the game, Kaz. I have to decline from non-premium members, by the way. Johan, I hope he's ready this time. Nope. Yep. These are fun. These Sicilian Najdorf variations with opposite side casting. Great fun. Usually. Spice of life, of chess life. Can I play b5 and live to tell the tale, or is there knight b5? That's the thing. If it had castle, there's another one on d6. I'm not sure it's entirely convincing here, because I have queen b8. He's not winning that third pawn. There's, as I mentioned earlier, there's this Bronstein game where Bronstein did do that stuff. I'm wondering about rook d8 as opposed to rook c8 here. Right, castle here going straight into the attack, because otherwise knight b5. Hang on, b4 is possible here. Now if he plays this, I get that a-file pressure. I mean, it's worth it. If he takes here, that's kind of aggressive looking. A little bit reminiscent of Adams against Kasparov, one of Kasparov's last games in the Sicilian defense. Well, Kasparov waited for g6 for bishop f6, and the diagonal was slaughtered on Adams on the b file, and the diagonal b2 being the focal point. How can I simulate that? Emulate that? I'll do it. g6 gives me bishop f6. That's the thing to bear in mind. That's one of the points I remember anyway from the Adams-Kasparov game. Yeah, before Kasparov's retirement in the 90s. Alright, now I think the knight e6, queen a5, I'm threatening bishop c3 of queen c3, knight a2. So I don't know about e6 if white's got time for that. Bishop c3 immediate threat for knight a2. Queen d6. There's queen a1, knight b1. Knight check, there's king d2. Can I improve on that? See, it's almost as if this g5 has helped black's attack, because the bishop is really quite kind of dangerous on this diagonal. Actually, bishop d4 here. There might be knight e5 on bishop d4. Looks as though c3 is a big problem here. Check, takes. Let's say knight d5. I can always got the knight on there anyway. I think I just go in with queen a1, queen b2 here. I'm on c2 anyway, as well as c3. This looks far too quick, this attack. I mean, I know it looked like almost suicidal to allow the g6, but if you get the bishop f6, you get the bishop f6. I don't know what it is about chess. It's complicated, to say the least. Okay, so bishop takes, queen c2, king e1. There's bishop c3 there, at the very least. I can probably try and calculate this. I think I do want to start with bishop d5, fundamentally. Do I? Or queen c2. On queen c2, let's rule this out. King e1. I think I want to take that out to give myself bishop c3. The bishop's not doing anything anyway in particular. So, go with this one. I think there's going to be a knight d5 anyway. Queen c2, bishop c3, bishop d2, knight d5. So takes, check, check. Right, so I take here. Check, creating the pin. Now I'm thinking knight d5. I'm not getting mated just yet. The rook's holding there. Knight d5 means rook e8, pinning the knight. It means bishop c3, there's a check. I can't see what's wrong with knight d5. I don't want this knight to be that stable on e6. The king in the centre again. I think rook e8 here. There's no time for white. Look at the queen sack briefly. I don't think it's working. Take with the rook or the bishop. There's also knight e3 here, forking queen and rook. Thanks for the game, Johan. I love these Sicilian defense games today. Don't know about you guys. The paradox of chess is that it gets increasingly dull from the 19th century onwards. The Romantics knew how to play chess with great fun. Go back to the 90s, we still had a lot of fun chess with the King's Engine and stuff. Nowadays, I don't know, you've got to look out for the exciting players. Rapport Richard Reports is the name I was looking for. He's an exciting player. Okay, so bishop d5, knight c4. But yeah, the days of the Najdorf being played, I don't know, something's been really denting the Najdorf. Mind you, there was a couple of years ago, Gelfand had a brilliant year with the Najdorf, beating loads of great players. I've had this position in a British Championship game. This Gambit, I prepared someone's Owens, it was an Owens specialist with e6. So I had this prepared actually on my computer, this pawn sec idea. I came to the conclusion at the time it's just really good for white because black has compromised their light squares. Tactically, is there anything going on here? Check, bishop e7, knight d6, queen e7, knight d6. Yeah, I think the embarrassing queen e2 here is going on. I can take on f7, or take no king. The king takes. Knight e5. If takes, there's knight f7. That looks like a crushing move. Bishop f4, castle queenside. The thing is about this British Championship guy, it's like one of the systems he always plays. If you have good preparation against someone that always plays their pet systems, you can really, I find, smash them up, these pet systems. So, I mean, they offer themselves as a fixed like target, some players, sometimes. Okay, so knight takes f7, king c7. Okay, no, knight d4 is going to be a pain. Not so easy, not so easy. I'm going to take that out of the equation, and then bishop e3. There's no queen e6, so I can play rook d1. I'm going to take a whole rook here and allow knight d4. Is knight d4 a big deal? Oh, I can take there first. I don't want to run out of time. It's a 3-minute game, for God's sake. Alright, my first thought is to stop knight d4. Okay. I'm giving him a chance to get back in the game here. I haven't got anything here out of that. That was nonsense. It's bishop g3. Great. Didn't play it. Can I try for a mating that before running out of time? Knight d7, f6, h7. Only got 34 seconds, so getting a mating net is a good idea sometimes, if you can do it. But he's always got rook b4. King comes out. Oh, rook h7's threatened, thankfully. g4, I take, check, king f5. It's still, the king's helping take away some escape squares. Yeah, no, I think I realised it was a 3-minute game too late. I would have liked to have fully calculated that position. earlier. Okay. Mitchie B. Play solid. Try to. If I take this queen b2. Bishop to c2 plan. And it gives me knight d2 after. Is he going to play e5? There's also knight a3 to b5. That looks nice. Little positional plan, knight to b5. I love the birds tweeting actually at this time of year. You gotta say. Alright, so what is he doing? There's almost bishop e4 and knight d6 almost. It's interesting. f3? Where's the knight going? I goes to g3. If I take, there's knight d6 for knight e4. If he takes like that, there's maybe f3. If he took, how's the weakness situation? I don't think knight c7 is doing anything. f3, knight g3 is the pain of it. Alright. Take away some attacking pieces. Take away this bishop. It gives me a pawn to undermine with f3. With that queen as a target, that'd be nice. If I can liberate that with e4, the queen here would be quite good. Do I want to take with the knight? I shouldn't pre-move this. Do I take with the knight or the rook? I'll just play f4. I think this f4 might be a bit of fun. Queen e2 to f3. Actually, rook e1, knight e5. Trying to defend my e3, but also if I have that knight e5, if f6, oh, there's knight c6 maybe. Knight g3, there's rook f2. I think I'll play knight e5, maybe g4 at some point to kick that knight. Here with tempo on the queen. Oh, he's after a pawn, is he? What about his king side? Rook f6. Funny enough, no, I didn't notice my pawn hanging, but I'm hoping to get a good attack here. There's a lot of basic weaknesses here to try and tap into. King G7, Rook F1. I'm already threatening Rook F7. Yes, it seems I'm going to smash him from this position if all goes well. Rook H6 already threatens Queen G5. Oh, hang on, trap, Queen E5. Protecting G5, very funny. Ha ha. Hilarious. So Queen E3 first, Queen B2, Rook H6, much better. I dare. Trying to justify an offside piece with a tactic. Still offside, he can have B2 if he wants. Right, there's knight F7 or there's knight G6. I can get that E6 after, and my centre looks good. And B2 is more significant there. Crikey. Maybe E5, Queen E4. While I'm holding F2, Queen B2 is not deadly for F2. E5 gives me Queen E4. King H8, Rook H6. How is this influential now? Just via B2 or D5? The check, Queen H6, Queen B2. Alright, I need something on King G8. Maybe my pawns are just pretty good here in the centre. Just play Rook G6, King H8, E6, Rook F2, D5. He's resigned. Oh, that's generous. Okay. Thanks. Alkinen. We'll play again. I did have a good Nimzo Indian against him a while back. I think he was a bit lucky in this variation once upon a time, as far as I'm aware. So I'm just trying to remember people's weaknesses and stuff. I think it's a sort of C4 gambit. I don't care about C4. That's the whole point, to sacrifice the C4 pawn for this bishop and the dark square play. How to play here though? E5 seems tempting. Bishop G5. He hasn't stopped the pin. Cannot play knight G3 to H5. Chess24 actually helped a lot with this system. I actually had a game against a grandmaster who specialises in them as Indian, Peter Wells. I had some help from Chess24 in the A3 system. Looked at a few of his games as well, and managed to draw against Peter Wells that day. It's a London Classic. My first ever draw against the GM on FIDE time controls was a Nimza Indian with this C4 gambit idea. Let's close up the centre. Let's try and stop the counterplay a bit. Queen D2. There's knight B3. Avoiding that tactic for a moment. Okay. Stop knight D2. Knight G3, G5, knight F5. If he takes Queen H6, is going to be murder, surely. He can't play a move like G5. There's no way. Let's play knight F5. Knight H7, knight H6, end of game. G5, bishop G5, end of game. G4, G5 looks tempting. Knight H6 looks tempting. Knight E7 looks almost tempting. Knight H7, bishop E7 for bishop D6 looks crushing. G5 looks crushing. G5 looks crushing. Okay, let's keep the queen around here. I want to crush with g5 here. This is why I call it a c4 gambit. You gambit c4 and you just win over here, basically. With your dark square bishop. Dark squares are all weaker than usual. Okay, rook g1. Queen's not invading yet. Bishop f2 is also handy. There's queen c7 holding d6. Rook g1 for queen h6 for rook g6 looks crushing. I want to play queen h6, rook g6. It looks crushing. The dark squares have completely compromised. Sorry, Paul, just a few minutes. Sorry, mate. My brother. Nick, I started chess by watching Nick play my dad. Actually, there's a 7-year difference. But Nick plays chess a bit, but he's more into the guitar and stuff. And programming, generally computer programming. I do a bit of computer programming, but it's really good at programming, especially SQL stuff, databases. There's a lot of money in databases still. Okay, it just seems to be queen h6. I don't know how black expects to have any resources available to defend this position after queen h6, basically. The queen can't even help the king here. Rook g6 is absolute murder. Doesn't matter if it's a 3-minute game, a long game, a bullet game. This looks absolute murder, rook g6. There's king h8, I suppose, rook g8. Okay, okay, I think I better stop here on a high, because I want to play a session sometimes where I've won every game, and I have won every game this session, have I not? There's been no draws, no losses. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, I like to win on a high. So yeah, okay, yeah. See you next week then. Okay, yeah. Thanks for coming. I really enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys. All right, thanks for coming, and yeah. All right, cheers then. See you next week. Hope you got stuff from it. In a nutshell, I think I touched on 4C moves. Check them at every time. Well, there's a few things in here. Looking for the threats is a good question to start off with, even when you're looking at master games. There's a few things. Just to recap the video. I think I made a few good points there anyway. All right, which might be useful for your blitz and enjoying chess generally. Okay, cheers then. Thanks very much.